about my healing journey, and hopefully I can kind of just get through it. If you do like this type of content, then I invite you to join the family. It's a new channel. We're going to be sharing a lot. We are going to be sharing a lot in terms of healing, and it's going to be a safe space for you to kind of be yourself and be at home and come home to yourself. Like button, share it with somebody that you feel like might need to hear the messages, and also trust your intuition. If you feel like you're listening to something that makes sense for you, then just know that that message was also meant for you. Technically, my journey started about 4 months ago. However, for the past maybe 15 years, pretty much my whole life, I've had a lot of trauma, mother trauma, father trauma. There was an extreme amount of abuse, mental, emotional, physical. And of course I had my moments where, you know, life was good, right? So it was like this weird, I was living in like this duality. As a young child, I realized in retrospect that none of what I was going through, that sort of abuse, that wasn't normal. It's my truth. And a lot of what had happened was a whole lot of abandonment, not only like physical abandonment where people left my life. I was sort of put in a situation where as a child, you don't gain a sense of self if you don't have a solid foundation. And so I didn't really get a solid foundation. And it came from a lot of people going in and out of my life. Again, that abandonment was a huge issue. And then that was the foundation of the moment I came into the world. And from there, it grew into fear, a whole lot of fear of uncertainty and stuff like that. And then I was silenced a lot. Years later, it grew into, well, this is how we do things, this is how you need to do things, and you can't ask questions. And so that formed this really big gaping hole in my sense of self, my personality, the way I saw the world, and I didn't even know. That was the thing, is I didn't know that all of the things that was happening to me or had happened to me up until that point had caused me to have this interesting lens that everything was unsafe. I am not worthy of anything. I have no voice. I can't stand up for myself. And really, in retrospect, I can only say that this is what I thought or what was actually happening back then, because back then I couldn't tell you. I existed in this matrix for about up until 4 months ago. That was my foundation. My foundation was based off of a lot of negative energy, a lot of oppressive energy, a lot of being stifled and pushed down from everybody, being abandoned by the main people in my life that were supposed to protect me. I'm hoping that me being vulnerable enough opens you up to be vulnerable in your life to somebody who might need it, and that we can sort of pass this along, because this is life. This happens to a lot of people, and it's not to discount my situation at all or yours or anything like that. But yeah, that was my foundation. So not positive, right? And that was the earlier years of my life. In the middle of, like, I guess the next sort of couple of years, the next decade, right? I was a little bit older. I was finishing off elementary school or middle school, in high school. The issues that had started my life, or the foundation, if you will, that started my life, segued into those years and sort of shifted a little bit, but they were still there. I was then sort of the type of person that was a people pleaser. I didn't understand that I needed to have boundaries. I didn't know what that meant. I would walk into a room and I would be able to understand and read the room. And I didn't understand why I could do that. I had a little bit of an idea that I was doing these things now, maybe a little bit of like a peek behind the curtain, but then that was it. But I just didn't know. I didn't know. And so those years were really trying, because it was the years that I was trying to prove myself, and it was to my own detriment, because I just didn't have that awareness, and I was not able to clear out so that I could, you know, open up the doorway for more positive energy. You don't know how to do better, and then you just continue going through the same motions, and it's like this mundane thing. You're just a hamster on a little hamster wheel. And then I was seeking love in people that were not emotionally available, because that's what I was shown all my life. And wow, I'm so proud of myself. I can actually talk about this and not cry. Like, I just feel this sort of neutrality. It doesn't make it okay what had happened, but I just feel the sense of like, holy cow, growth? I think so. And then fast forward to, you know, the last years of this whole transformational journey and where I am now. I just kind of knew something. I was like, something's got to give. Something's not right here. I did have the understanding that my trauma was informing all of my decisions. Everything I was surrounding myself with, literally all of my decisions were based through the lens of my trauma and my perception. I was just constantly hitting that ceiling, and man, I was still really lost, but I knew that something was wrong. At the very least, I knew. You know, I think that the first maybe 3 years, I got glimpses of different perspectives through videos, through meeting people, through conversations, through just me naturally channeling source, not really understanding the depth of that relationship with God. And an added factor, I grew up in a highly religious home, and I went to Catholic school. I grew up strict Roman Catholic, and it also, on top of all the trauma, this was also something that was weighing heavy. So it was also like this duality of sorts, because now if nothing made sense initially, add this religion that just completely confused me even more so. Because within just religion, for me, there was so much duality that it started to make me question things. But your brain at a young age isn't fully developed, so you can't formulate the best question. You can't formulate the right question because you don't have a complete understanding of what that one thing is. At least, what was that? Now, having the understanding of where I've been, what has happened, what hasn't happened, the patterns that I started to see in myself, and the understanding that there's like a shift in the grid here. I was like, okay, it's time to take my life back, to fully understand where I wanted to be, the different types of perspectives that I was gonna have to incorporate, and like who I wanted to be. You know how they say you have to believe it before you can actually see it? It used to be you have to see it before, you know. That saying is so true. I knew that if I wanted to change, I had to start believing it. But I also knew that there was like this massive ball of like ball and chain, right? That I'd been trudging and like, I don't know, just pulling. Yeah, I'm like pulling, I don't know, pulling through every facet of my life up until now. And I said, that's it. I just decided to let go. Now, I mean, I really have started to look inward. The question I want to pose is, where are you in your healing journey? Are you at the point where you're able to look at it and start breaking it down? Kind of like when you chop onions, are you able to chop it down? Or is it just too smelly and it makes you cry and like you just can't handle it? Because honestly, either or, what an example that was, right? Either or is totally fine. And that's the beauty of this whole journey. And so hopefully you've enjoyed this video. In the comment section below your response to my question if you've gotten this far. And I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.